And away we go. And away we go indeed. Welcome in, fine citizens. What a week in the NFL. I mean, there's so many things to get to, coming out of retro jersey. Because, I mean, the Broncos had them on. You had all these teams wearing like their throwback. The Eagles had the Ron Jaworski threads. But week 8 was pretty crazy. And before I get to anything else, he's going to come out a little later, my great producer, Davin. But the Ravens panic meter might be pretty down. It was getting to the 8.5 range. And now the Ravens, quote them nevermore, at 2-5 are the favorite to win the division, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But I understand why. It's still the dumbest thing I've ever heard because they are 2-5. And if the Steelers actually looked amazing last night for the first half and then blew it in the second half and gave up 28 points to their 9, if they hadn't lost, I don't think they would be the favorite. Maybe it would be close or closer with the Steelers. But 2-5, and they're the favorite to win the AFC North. They're right now, as we speak, the 9th favorite to win the Super Bowl at 22-1, with odds better than Seattle. The Chargers who's had a big win, which, by the way, I gave out on this show and gave out on the great David Shire's editing skills. We've released, we've cut up I think 6 games that I've given plays on that we'll put on social media. And on those 6 games, I'm 5-1. The only game I lost on these little clips we made, not to brag or anything, was that stupid Jags game in London, which I said I didn't love, but I did give out the Jags 3 plus 3.5. So I'm not going to, full transparency here. But right now, the Ravens have better odds than Seattle, the Chargers, the Niners, the Patriots. I mean, if I have a choice between taking the Patriots with the Super Bowl and the Ravens, I'm taking the Patriots at 27-1 right now because they look better. They're healthier. And yeah, is there a great chance they're going to win the Super Bowl? Probably not. But I think there's a good chance the Ravens are. But David Shire's panic meter way, way down. By the way, the Commanders, which was a play I gave out on this show, to get to the Super Bowl against Buffalo. That was my main preseason Super Bowl pick. I've since added the Lions to that exact matchup. That was a 20-1. I know I gave out Commanders and Ravens or Commanders and Bills before the season at 40-1. The problem is Jaden Daniels can't stay healthy. They still could get hot like they did last year. I don't want to say it came out of nowhere because remember, they had that Hail Mary game. And from that point on, they just kind of found ways to win games and went into Detroit and won the divisional playoff game before losing in the NFC title game. But I still think the Commanders will have a chance if Jaden Daniels is healthy. But I don't like seeing the Ravens way ahead of right now the Ravens are 22-1. They're 2-5. The Commanders are 55-1. And yeah, they just got their asses kicked yesterday, but they're not like, or I'm sorry, they got their ass kicked last week to the Cowboys, and they're playing tonight to get to 4-4. If they win, they're probably not going to win. But that's just crazy to see a team like the Ravens at 2-5 finally gets a win, super banged up, and didn't even need Lamar Jackson. And the Bears, let's be honest, are the Bears really that good? We'll talk about that in a minute. But I mean, geez, they're 22-1, and the Commanders are 55-1, and Commanders got to the NFC title game last year, so just crazy stuff. But I can't wait to check in on the David Shire panic meter. Don't forget, we are obviously always true interactive on this show. If you got any comments, got any questions, fire stuff in. Later on in the program, as always, I will get to my Squatch same game Monday Night Football parlay. I always identify 4 games of the upcoming week that I like immediately against the spread, whether it's a side or a total. And don't forget to go to bullrush.com and use that promo code EDGE, and you get a $5 bonus. So go to bullrush.com, use promo code EDGE, and get involved. All right, let's start things off before we get into the games that happened yesterday. We also, of course, preview the Monday Night Football game between the Chefs and the Washington Commanders minus Jaden Daniels. But a couple plays, some big, nice wins from the weekend for the Squatch. As I give out a lot of these plays on this show, I give them out to my people at DTFSquatchPicks.club. Before we throw those up there, Dom, and I will say, remember, I've talked about the Blue Jays for a long time on this show. I gave them out on this show to win the World Series around 7-1 before the playoffs started. They were as high as 10 or 11-1 when the Yankees had made the next round. And then, of course, the Blue Jays have been as low as plus 200. Yes, they lost game number 2 after dominating game number 1 with all those crazy home runs and blasting the Dodgers. Then Yamamoto pulled a Sandy Koufax, Bob Gibson, whatever pitcher you want to throw out there. He was absurd, or maybe even a Cy Young type game. So I still love them. I think they're going to win tonight. I think they're going to win game 4, and then maybe it goes 6, and they get back to Toronto, where Toronto's obviously notoriously won incredible World Series games at home with the Joe Carter home run and a bunch of other crazy stuff back in 93, 92 when they won back-to-back. But I still love that bet right there. I mean, yeah, I boosted it so not everyone was able to do that, but even 6.5 or 7-1 was solid before the playoffs started, because to me, up there with a team like the Dodgers, I thought the Blue Jays and the Dodgers were the 2 best teams. And we'll see what happens. It's a big game. The winner of game 1, though, is won, I think it's like 25 of the last 29 World Series. So I feel good about that. But if they go down 2-1, then they're going to have to win game 4. So I want them to win tonight. And if they lose game 4, they lose game 4. But, you got 3 in a row in LA. You got to take minimum 1, but probably 2 if you want to win the World Series. And obviously, you could go 7 games if you only win 1. All right, but let's take a look at what I did over the weekend, because all the Squatch does is win. I said these to David, and he just gets tired of all the wins. But I had a couple sizzlers in the NFL. Let's start with the big one, not the 3-leg one. We'll start with the one that I did all day. And as I mentioned, I give some of this stuff out on the show. If you always ever have a question, you can reach out to me on social media. Give out to my DTM squatchpicks.club people. But this to me, when I made it, I'm like, all right, I wish I could, you have limits on these profit boosts when you wager legally online. And by the limit for this was 100. I wish I could have done 500. But Coker, easily getting the 20 yards. Shakur and that Bills romp over Carolina, which we're going to get to, which no Carolina fans left in the crowd. All Bills fans. It was an empty-looking stadium, pretty ugly. He got, 6 instead of 4. Shaheed, actually, I got lucky with Shaheed because the Saints sucked, and they benched Rattler and brought in Tyler Show. But it was funny. So Rashid early on the first drive got 20 yards. And then he got that, he only had 3 receptions, if I'm not mistaken. He got that 30 yards on the last one. I could have gotten screwed with that, but if the Saints played a regular game, he would have easily had 30 yards. Obviously, Stroud doubled up the 15 yards. I played it safe there. I actually not even playing it safe. I laid a little juice, but he did it easily. And then DJ Moore had way more than 25 yards. And then they complete the process, Davin, if you will. Complete the catch, the second part of that. There you go. And then, that's just the money. So love that. And these are the kind of things I love getting out of this show. Like I've explained to many people, you got to understand that when you're doing like same game parlay type stuff like this, like obviously, I think there's a ton of value in it. Like these days, the point spreads and the totals, Vegas is so good with the algorithms that there's not a lot of value just betting sides and totals. I put them together in different parlays and round robins and stuff like that sometimes, or I'll just go straight bets where I really like it. Like when I give out the Chargers on Thursday Night Football, I love the Chargers. I bought it down to 2.5 and just laid a lot of money on the Chargers. But when it comes to same game parlays, and this is something that I have to tell, not just people that are watching the show that are maybe more amateur wagers, people that are getting involved, that are newer into doing this kind of stuff, or people that I mentioned, obviously, my website, the dtmsquatchpicks.club peeps, where I always explain stuff to them, or people I meet in public, or people that reach out to me on social media, like you always are welcome to do, at Dan Leach DTM. I mean, I'm not necessarily going to always answer right away, but if you reach out to me, I'll always answer any questions you have. I mean, people do it all the time, and I'm happy to do it because I wish I had that resource when I was younger in wagering. But what I do is I tell them that, okay, listen, if you want to do and I don't do 15, 20 parlays, very rarely. Just if I want to do something crazy for fun, I'll just throw that out there. But I want to win, and I luckily usually do. It's always worth taking a little less risk out of it. Let's say, you saw the Coker 20 yards. I could have done 25 or 30. You saw, DJ Moore. I could have done 35 or 40. I understand you're taking away some of the profit if you're going to lay more juice and take the less risky play. Let's say the 30 yards or more is minus 230 and 40 yards or more is minus 115 or 125. If you really like something, it doesn't matter. But how many times if you do all these different legs, does something cost you that all you had to do is be a little safer? Maybe you're going to win $100 less or $40 less or $16 less or whatever it ends up being. But wouldn't you rather win a little less and win the bet, win the wager? That's the way I always try to teach people because it's worked for me. I win so much more than I used to when back in the day, you didn't have a choice or not really alternate lines. But like if you throw in 3 or 4 or 5 props or teams or whatever, or totals in a parlay, and you just buy through the key number like I talked about on the show, go from 7 to 7.5 if you're taking the dog, or go from 7.5 to 6.5 if you're taking the favorite, or 3 to 3.5, or 3 to 2.5, whatever it ends up being. If you do that, you will, I'm telling you, watch in a year or two how much more you've won, how many less bad beats you get. So it's just something that I'm someone that likes to express yourself. I'm someone that likes to expound upon my knowledge to others because I've gotten a lot of luck throughout my life with people teaching me and obviously me teaching myself a lot. But I really do want to help people because that's part of what this show is all about and part of why I love partnering with Bull Rush. All right, but this one, and I'm almost mad at myself, and you can never get mad about a win, and I'm not a greedy guy, but I normally bet, 22 is a lucky number for me, so that's why I did this, because it was such kind of a long shot bet. But my minimum bet wager these days is like $36. Obviously there's certain times where I'll bet wager less if it's like some crazy home run parlay or touchdown parlay. We showed that one a few weeks ago where I bet 44 and 110K on those two, the 4-leg round robin and straight bet, or the same game parlay of those 4 touchdown scores. But I was in the VIP room at a local casino here, not to pump my chest up, but there's a lot going on in there. I'm talking to people. We're watching. There's 15 different screens. And I'm like, all right, I'll just throw $22. And I can't get mad about that. 22 for almost 700 is pretty solid. I'm buying Davonshire like 3 plates of Spam, and I'm getting him tuna fish for like the next 4 or 5 hurricanes he's got to deal with. So it's like, what is it, like 500 cans of tuna fish? But 36 would have paid like well over 1,000. But Steelers first half line was plus 130. I loved it. Loved 2 touchdown passes. I loved it. And I really thought on National Tight End Day, my man Tucker Kraft Cheese got the job done. So 22 into 659, or to make 659, not too shabby. We got, like I said, we give out plays like this on the show all the time. So enjoyed that. Let's get into the games that were. And speaking of the Packers from last night, are they super? Huge win over their former quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, and the Steelers. Listen, Green Bay's in the Detroit Lions division. I cover the Detroit Lions. I've talked about how Green Bay is getting much closer to being overall as good of a team as the Detroit Lions are. They're not there yet, but they moved to 5-1-1 after that first half where they only scored 7 points, and Love looked kind of perplexed at times. The Steelers defense was doing great stuff. Rodgers was finishing drives with field goals, sometimes not touchdowns, but looked good. And then everything went backwards in the second half. That's a really good Packers team. And they've got a great chance to win the North. If the Lions aren't careful and lose that game against Green Bay at Ford Field, they probably will lose the North. The Lions have got to hold serve and win all their division games at Ford Field, which they've played none of yet. They got the Vikings coming up that I'll be at covering this coming Sunday. Then they got the Bears Thanksgiving and the Packers. So you've got some very important games in that division for the Lions at home. Green Bay is with Jordan Love. And the game he had last night, 29-37 for 360 yards. Double high, by the way, for our fellow Jews out there. Lucky number. 3 touchdowns. He was unbelievable. Yeah, he struggled at times in the first half. Was that more due to the Steelers defense knowing what to do with him in that first half, and the adjustments being made by the great Green Bay coaching staff and LaFleur at halftime? Well, I don't know. But huge win for the Packers. They moved to 5-1-1, 35-25 over the Steelers. And listen, Steelers, we talked about this last week. They really hadn't played anybody. Yes, they beat the Patriots on the road. That was a big win. But they lost to Seattle. They beat the Jets, who suck. Vikings have had injury issues. They barely beat them. They beat the Browns, who obviously are not good. They lost to the Bengals. The Steelers really haven't played anybody. So 4-3 is 4-3, but that's why the Ravens are the favorites to win the division at 2-5. The Ravens are 2-5. They're the favorites to win the North. The Steelers are 4-3, leading the division, and they're not the favorites. That's crazy pants. So I don't think the Steelers are that good. They're not bad. Are they a playoff team? Maybe. But at this point, and we'll have to ask David about this a little later on in the Ravens corner, quote them nevermore, if he is scared of the Steelers, because if I'm the Ravens right now and I get healthy, I'm not scared of the Steelers at all. So big win for the Packers. They are looking super-ish. Hopefully, for my Lions fandom, not so much. But That's a good team. Also, what the hell is up with the schizophrenic Falcons? I'm in this huge survivor contest where you pick a team every week. You can only use them once. I had 4 entries to start the year. There's over 600 people in it, a lot of money on the line. And I was down to 2 entries yesterday. Actually, one of my entries is on the Chiefs. They better not lose tonight. The only good news about this story is that both teams I was going to take, unless I want to go with this a much more dangerous scenario, they both lost. Originally, I was going to take the Bengals, and I would have been furious at the way they lost. But I'm like, Atlanta, Miami is awful. I watched the Dolphins get just absolutely embarrassed the week before where Tua threw a pick like every other play. They lost 31-6 to the Browns. I thought that I made the right pick, and I didn't. They got their asses kicked. I don't know what's going on with the Falcons. They beat good teams. They lose to bad teams. How can you be a team that is better against the good teams and absolutely crap-tastic against bad teams? That, to me, lets me know that they're not that good of a team. They're 3-4. They're probably not going to be a playoff team. I like the future for Penix Jr. Obviously, Bijan Robinson's one of the best players in the NFL, but it's not a good team. Because, yeah, it's great that you could beat a team like the Bills in prime time. It's great that you can play good against good teams. You've got to win against the bad teams. That's why the Lions, a team that I've obviously been a fan of my entire life, and for so many years, they would have similar issues where they would play great against good teams, then lose to teams they had no business losing to. That means they're not that great of a team. The Lions don't do that anymore. The Lions pound the bad teams. Yeah, they might lose to the Chiefs on the road at Arrowhead on Sunday Night Football. Yeah, they might lose to, the Tampa Bay Bucs last year, one of the 2 losses, as obviously Tampa was a great team last year. But they don't lose to the bad teams anymore. I mean, obviously, everyone in the NFL is susceptible. There's always big upsets because of parity. But the Lions are a team that don't lose to bad teams anymore. Falcons are losing to all the bad teams. The Dolphins are one of the worst in the league. Tua couldn't even stay upright last week. He couldn't even throw it to the right team. And they win 34-10. That game, if you watched it, went all downhill in the early third quarter. Falcons were about to score a touchdown. Bijan Robinson, who's been incredible, MVP-like this year, fumbles the ball inside the 20 of the Dolphins, and the Dolphins went right down and scored a touchdown. That was it. If the Falcons had scored to make that 17-10, totally different ball game, but who knows? Maybe they just suck, or they were going to be bad the whole day. Also, no one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. They look like, again, the best team in the NFL off the bye. They're 5-2. Panthers aren't a good team right now, but they've been playing better, and they were embarrassed yesterday. Andy Dalton looked like he had never played football before. I don't know what the hell was going on with Andy Dalton. If you, for some reason, thought that the Panthers plus the points was a smart player, some dumb reason took Andy Dalton props, you should get your money back. Because he is freaking garbage. I mean, how can you be a guy that actually at some point was decent and then literally looked like he had never played football before? It was embarrassing. So bad stuff by the Panthers, but still, Bills, they're my Super Bowl preseason pick. I'm not moving away from them. I've got pretty large future wagers on them in multiple different spots. They win 49 and rock the Panthers. How about the Texans? A game I gave out on this show. Actually, of the 4 games, let me double check that. I'm sorry, I normally do, but I win so much. People are like, this guy's a jerk. No, I'm not a jerk. I'm the best. I'm very humble, as my dad says. Last week, I gave out my look-ahead games. I gave out the Chargers, obviously, big win. I gave out the Giants, and I said bye to 7.5. They had an injury, so I was wrong. No, yeah. So I did give out the Texans, but I'll tell you, it was dangerous because the Texans are the kind of team that would lose a game like that where they had outplayed San Francisco, even with San Francisco's many injuries. Houston is a team that I think if you want to make a long shot play on, winning a playoff game or getting to the, even I'm trying to see what their playoff odds are right now. Right now to make the playoffs, the Texans are plus 260. I mean, there's value there. I think they're still a good team. I mean, they're not the way they were a couple of years ago, and CJ Stroud leaves a lot to be desired at times, but they've got Dalton Schultz, they've got Woody Marks, they got a solid defense. I like the Texans. So maybe that's a play to take them to make the playoffs plus 260. And there's definitely ways you can find odds on like winning a playoff game. They're probably, I would say 6 to 7 to 1 to win a playoff game. To win 2 would probably be like 30 to 1. But that's something that I would look at right now, to be honest. So nice win for the Texans at home over the Niners, 26 to 15. Stroud was great. 30 and 39 for 318 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Bucs come on. This is the sign of a good team too. Good teams like the Detroit Lions are able to recover after tough losses. The Lions are the best team in the NFL the last 4 years under Dan Campbell, coming off a loss. I think they've only lost 2 games once in 4 years, 2 games in a row. Maybe it's been longer than that. The Bucs are showing that kind of moxie. They lost to the Lions. Baker Mayfield looked bad. I was at that game. Lions crowd obviously was there. The Saints aren't a good team. They're a 1-7 team now, but they dominated and knocked their quarterback out. Got him benched, Spencer Rattler, who had actually started to play a little better. The Saints scored 3 points. You to score 3 points in an NFL game is embarrassing. And the Bucs have a good defense. This is not like the 85 Bears D. 23-3. They recover from the tough loss to the Lions. They're going to win that division. They are 6-2 after dominating New Orleans. I really like what I'm seeing in Tampa Bay. They've got such a balanced team. Very, very impressive when it comes to by the way, did I see Sheed only had 31 yards? No, Sheed had 75 yards. So that was easy, but I took the 30. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Be a little safer sometimes. And then I hate to do this because I know he's watching. I think my dad's watching too. Hello to the doc. I mentioned this guy on the show before, and I hate giving him any kind of publicity because he's an idiot. Now, one of my best friends, Baby Dave Rieger, he's a huge Broncos fan. I actually really liked the Cowboys in this game. I didn't give them out on the show last week, but I loved the Cowboys because to me, Denver got lucky in that win over the Giants. The Denver offense had been trash. Bo Nix had not looked good. Denver has a good defense, and the Cowboys were starting to kind of come in their own. But if you're a Cowboys fan, it's right back to, we suck again because they'll play great, then they'll play awful. They'll play great for 2 games, then they'll lose to a crap box team. I want to say the other word, but I guess maybe I should swear because there's maybe children's watching. Do we have like what's it called? An age verification thing to watch the show, Davin? I want to, and I'm not going to swear. You got to do a trigonometry test to be able to watch the show and hear the foul language. But yeah, 44-24 to move to 6-2. I made a bet with my friend because he's a big Broncos sycophant, wacko, that they'd go under 8.5. We had another bet on the Lions. He's going to lose, so we're going to probably push. But that Broncos team is starting to look pretty dangerous. And I don't trust in Sean Payton. I think he tries to be the smartest guy in the room, tries to do too much sometimes and be too cutesy. But that was a huge win where they scored 14, 13, and 14 in 3 of the 4 quarters. Bo Nix, 4 touchdown passes. Franklin had 2 of them. You had Dobbins with 111 yards. 3 touchdowns for RJ Harvey. 3. It was one receiving and 2 on the ground. I didn't look it up, but my guess is to take Harvey to score 3 touchdowns would have been 100-1, maybe 80-1, something crazy like that. I'm sure there are people out there that did that, but big win for the Broncos. They look pretty darn good in that division. I mean, you look at the AFC North right now, the AFC North, the AFC West, and you've got Denver at 6-2. You got the Chargers at 5-3, and KC with the win tonight, we get to 5-3. And Denver's obviously won 5 in a row. They're looking awful early in the season. That's going to be a race to the finish, that division. I still think the Chargers have a great chance, and obviously the Chiefs do too. But Chargers are one of my outlier Super Bowl picks, so I'm not giving up on them yet. And I still don't believe in Denver's offense. But that was a nice win for Denver, and you got to feel good about it if you're a Broncos fan. And then also the Colts. We've talked about the Colts every single week on this show. This Indianapolis team, you can say all you want. Are they that good? Have they really played anybody? Just how good can they be? They are that good. They are 7-1. They are literally smashing fools. Daniel Jones looks like he never did with the Giants. Jonathan Taylor should be in the MVP discussion. He had a $153 and 2 touchdowns. All that guy does is score. Pittman is great. Josh Downs is great. Their defense is phenomenal. 38-14 against a Titans team that have been playing a little better. Titans stink. But that Colts team is for real. And you take a look right now when it comes to the Super Bowl. They are still – now, do I think they're going to win the Super Bowl? No. But 10-1 to win the Super Bowl at this stage when they're 7-1 and a top 3 record in the NFL. And if you want to look at, matchups when it comes to at least them getting there, maybe not winning it, but getting there, the one I would probably go with that I like the most, there's actually a couple. I would probably go with the Colts and the Lions, which is 22-1. I would look at the Colts and the Packers, which is 22-1. And then I would look at the Colts and the Buccaneers at 60-1. I mean, once again, I think that the Lions are going to get there. I think the Commanders are going to get there. Obviously, Philly's going to be really good. Those are the two picks I made. The Rams have a chance. Rams, Colts, by the way, is 30-1. I would look at something like that. Put a small, pound of flesh on each one of those. You don't have to, wager a lot. But I think the Colts have a great chance to get to the Super Bowl. I really do. I mean, it's not going to be easy. They're 5-1 to win the AFC, but you don't want to take them to win it all. I mean, a 10-1 is a good value. I think it's better to take them against a potential NFC team because if they get there, you don't have to worry about hedging. They get there and they get against the 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 teams you wager on to come out of the NFC, you already win your wager. So that's probably – I like 10-1, so you could do that if you don't want to mess around with exact matchups. But I think that there's better value in taking those exact matchups. So the Colts are legit. All right, let's take a quick smoke break. I'm kidding. A quick respite. I want you to take a look at this. And then on the other side, we're going to do the live Davonshire Ravens panic meter. It was way up. Now it's way down. Take a look.
You think you've got the picks to hang with the pros? Well, step into the NFL Survivor competition, your proving grounds. Just $20 to enter and over $100,000 in cash prizes. Each week, the top 10 competitors move on to the next round of the NFL Survivor. Everyone else, done. 1 week, one shot. Do you think you have what it takes? Click the link below to join now.
And join indeed. All right, don't forget, go to Boros.com, use that promo code EDGE, and you get a $5 bonus. Who doesn't want that? That's like the price of 3 McChickens. Or like a carton of eggs, something like that. Or a few tacos. All right, let's bring them in without further ado. The man, the myth, the legend, the Davonshire. By the way, I do want to give a shout out to your doting and amazing wife, Queen Lexi. She actually is from a royal family in Sweden. I know that she's got to put up with a lot. You're at home right now. You make a lot of noise. I heard that during the middle of the night, you go outside and dig in your backyard. I don't know what that's all about. But no, she is a saint, and I've gotten a chance to get to know her a little bit. Very happy for you two. You guys are both amazing people. But what's more amazing is quote the Ravens nevermore. All right, last week, well, let's just, for those that are joining us, we're doing this every week. David is like I am, a massive Ravens fan, like I am with the Lions. And a lot of times you got you guys that are I like the Seahawks. I really liked it. I don't know why I'm doing weird voices. I really like the Dolphins. Hey, I like the Jets. You got people that are fans of teams, but they're not that you have to be a true blue fan to be like awesome or anything. But there's people like me and David that really live and die. Like when I was a kid, David, I don't know if you were the same way. Well, I'm still a kid. But when I was young, when the Lions lost a tough game, because I luckily got to go to all the games that were at home, and I would watch the games with my grandpa and dad that were on the road. When they would lose a tough game or even just lose in general, I would be depressed. I would cry sometimes. I'm not embarrassed to say that. I'm a very emotional man. I speaking of ride or dying, that stupid Russell Wilson Broncos country, let's ride. I love my teams. So are you that way? Like when they would lose when you were younger, were you like really emotional?
Yeah, no, I remember my whole family would be emotional. I've that's the times where I see emotion from my dad when they lost or when they won. 2012 was one of the best years of my life.
Wait, I gotta stop you there though. You said with your dad. Okay, are you from Baltimore?
My dad, yeah. So my whole dad's side of the family is from
if your
Baltimore.
dad's not under 30 years old, was he a Browns fan? Because when the Ravens were founded, he could have been a fan of the Ravens as a kid.
Yeah. The Baltimore Colts.
Oh, so he was a Colts fan. All right. No, there we go.
Yeah. So growing up, it was the Baltimore Colts. What is it? Johnny
Unitas?
Johnny Unitas.
What is it? Bart Starr? What is it? Michael Jordan? What is it? Wayne?
I knew who the Ravens were before I knew what football was. So,
but so listen, this is a team that means a lot to you, and just to give people that are maybe watching for the first time where you've been, tell all your friends about it, just to give them a little, kind of look into the hellscape that Davin has been living for a little while. After the loss to the Lions when they went to 1-2, you were like at a 6. Then after the loss to the Chiefs to go to 1-3, you were at like a 6.5, 7. Like, they'll be okay. Then the Jackson got hurt. You started getting worse. Then they got killed by the Texans. And I believe you went all the way up to, like, was it 8 that week or was it 8.5 the next week after they lost to the Rams?
Is 8.5 after the Rams. It was
Yeah,
like
17-3
7.9.
at
It was like
home.
right below 8 before that. Yeah.
All right, so now a big win over the Chicago Bears doing me, and now I'm talking like a Chicago guy, doing me and my Lions. This has been my best impersonation show, by the way. Big win over the Bears. They get the job done without Lamar Jackson. I was impressed with what I saw, in the 30-16 win. You got to love what Huntley did, the former Finns core. He's been with a million teams. And obviously the Ravens defense played well against Caleb Williams and Swift and Adunze. I mean, Adunze had a nice night, but they stopped them on the biggest moments. How did you feel about the win? And where are we at with the Devonshire Ravens, quote them evermore, panic meter?
Yeah, I think
really quick, sorry to interrupt. The fact, never mind. I'll ask you that separately. Go ahead.
I think we looked very solid. I was worried about the no Lamar Jackson thing. Everybody said we were going to get him back this week. We didn't get him back. I think we're going to have him back on Thursday. I feel very confident that we're going to have him back on Thursday.
Based on what? Based on you going to the training facility and checking out his locker?
Yeah, yep, that and the stem cells. I heard the stem cells are doing good.
He should be back. He really should be back.
He should be back. I mean, I think it was more of, I think they're kind of holding him for this game. And my panic meter right now is probably down to a 6.5, 6.8. It's a lot further down. I'm kind of waiting to assess how this Thursday night game goes, but I think we have Lamar back and just seeing how we played without Lamar and, kind of look good. We mostly look good in all aspects, given the the injuries we still have and the people we have out and everything. So I think we can get enough people back, including Lamar, for next game on Thursday, and the following week after that. I think they're going to be making that Netflix documentary about the greatest comeback in football history.
They're not making a Netflix documentary. I've already told you that. But
I
will tell you this. That was a must win. I mean, pretty much every game the next few weeks are almost must wins.
We have to win every one. I'm telling you.
But I got to ask you this, and I brought this up earlier, and I still now I did talk to my good friend that runs I won't name the sports book, but he runs a major sports book, and I was right. Not that I think it's that hard to know that I was right about this. And we talked about this last week, Dom. And I'm like, how can the Ravens still have these kind of odds, 20-1 to win the Super Bowl? And a lot of it's based on liability. And what that means, and I explained this last week, I'll just briefly explain it again, that if a sports book has a ton of money on the Ravens to win the Super Bowl at 5-1, they were the favorites for the season, they can't make those lines go up to 80-1. Because what if somehow David's Netflix documentary, Evermore, gets made and the Ravens do come back and win the Super Bowl after starting 1-5? The Ravens are still a really good team, even though they're banged up, and they were 1-5 before that game yesterday. But it's not crazy for a team in the NFL to go on a run these days, because it was only week 8. It wasn't week 14, and the Ravens had to win literally the rest of their games and get help. So a lot of it was liability, but also if you look at the division, and this is where my question comes in, Davin, Steelers hadn't really been tested. The other teams are garbage. When you look at the Ravens at 2-5, do you agree at this point, heading into week 9, that they should be the favorite to win the division? Because I know you can't just – well, it's funny. You can't just look at the record. You obviously have to look at the record. But they're 2-5. The Steelers are 4-3. Yet the Ravens are the favorite to win the division. Is that warranted or is it nuts? I still think it's nuts at this point. And if you're wondering what the line is, they're minus 110. Steelers are plus 165. The Bengals, I guess I can't see the Bengals stink. They just don't have Joe Burrow, but they're not winning the division. And the Browns are 30-1. Should the Ravens be
it's definitely crazy. It's definitely crazy. No, I agree. I think it's crazy, but I think the people do believe, and I think it's something that where everybody kind of believes in the miracle of not just because of the Ravens. I think it's just, we've seen, like you said, we've seen so many people, so many teams go on runs and so much stuff, people, teams have been doubted recently. And, personally, I just think, the last few years we've been amazing all season, and then we're just garbage in the playoffs, right? I think this is the opposite. I think this is where we're garbage in the regular season, and the last minute where it really counts, we just become the best team in the NFL. And I think,
well, you would take that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, and look, Lamar Jackson can't play any more Mario Kart in the locker room, so that's big too.
I'm going to pick this game in a little bit here after I let you go, but The Finns, that's a win. On the road to the Vikings, I mean, the Vikings are kind of a mess. That could be a win. We'll see if Action Jackson's back and playing well. It's a 1:00 game, so you don't have to worry about crazy, primetime stuff in Minnesota.
And stays healthy is the
At the
big thing.
Browns, better be a win if you're going to the playoffs. Home against the Jets, home against the Bengals. I mean, that's why, to be honest, you guys are the favorite right now, because if you are healthy with Jackson and play the way you did for the most part yesterday, you are going to win 5 in a row before that Steelers game. And then you play the team that is either above you or right below you based on what Pittsburgh does these next 5 weeks. And then you play the Bengals on the road again. I mean, you look at the schedule. After that, you got Patriots at home, at Packers, at Steelers. Don't worry about that right now. Those games in the middle part of the year are why I still think it's crazy at 2-5 because there's still a lot of factors. And Jackson,
but you see the roadmap for the Netflix documentary.
That's why you're the favorite right now.
Yeah. You see the roadmap for the Netflix documentary. You see the roadmap.
I see a roadmap to make the playoffs after being the worst team in the NFL. I don't see a roadmap for a
second worst, not the worst. The Jets. Come on, they're still the Jets.
No, of course they're not the worst, but they were 1-5. They were one of the worst by
one
record.
Of the worst.
David, always a pleasure. You're the best. Thanks for doing a great job on the show. And I guess you're probably sleeping a lot better right now.
I am. I definitely slept. I slept in my Ray Lewis jersey last night. So.
Okay, so you like guys that are accused of murder. I get it.
Allegedly.
I said accused. I didn't say commit. All right, David, thanks so much. Appreciate it. All right, let's take a look at the Thursday night game, as mentioned, with my man, David Cherry. Listen, got to trust the Squatch on these Thursday night football games. I gave you the Chargers easy last week. This game I don't. And by the way, I also gave you some sick Lad McConkey props. I said over on yards, over on catches. He sizzled them. They weren't even close to what the lines were. So you got to trust the Squatch on Thursday Night Football. This Ravens-Dolphins game, what an ugly, gross game, because obviously Miami, not a good team. They somehow made the Falcons look like a CFL team. But this is, in some ways for my man David Shire, my great producer, because maybe this documentary is going to get made. The Finns suck. The Ravens are -7.5. I don't remember. I've always told you I want you to buy through those key numbers. I think the Baltimore is going to, win this game by 20, but I'm still going to tell you to buy it down to 6.5. It won't cost you that much because it could end on 7, and you don't want to tie. So buy it down to 6.5. I think the Ravens win this game going away because I think Miami really isn't a good team. They just had a good week against an Atlanta team that ended up having to start Kirk Cousins in the last second instead of Penix Jr. Bijan Robinson's fumbling balls towards the goal line. Ravens, big, quote them nevermore, get it done. They moved to 3-5, and they're still the favorites to win the AFC North. All right, here's my 4 look-ahead games for you. The Patriots. Patriots are for real, as we've talked about on this show for several weeks. Speaking of Atlanta, garbage. Patriots -5.5 against this Falcons team. I have no trust in. I think that Atlanta is going to kind of go backwards for a little bit here. Maybe they'll recover later in the year, but I love New England in this spot. It's a weird spread, and I've told people a lot of times, it's not through a key number or anything. I've told people, when you've got these weird 4.5, 5.5 point spreads, that sometimes it's dangerous. To me, it's not. Patriots at home, they're going to win this game by 14 plus. Lay the 5.5 with the Pats, and if you want to, throw a parlay together, use the Pats money line if you don't want to worry about the point spread. This is another game that almost seems too easy to me, which a lot of times you got to be careful of, but I'm not worried about it because Skateaboo, unfortunately, is out. Just had surgery. Hopefully, he's not going to be out for the year, but you feel bad for that rookie. Niners are getting healthier. Giants are getting less healthy. Niners on the road, coming off that tough loss at Houston. I think they're going to have a much better game for McCaffrey. We'll see, obviously, the status of Purdy, but I like what's going on with San Fran getting healthier. They're minus the 2.5. Got to lay a little juice, but it's under that key number. It's already built in. I think the Niners get this job done. Maybe it's a 1-score game. Maybe it's a 10-point win, but I'm not that concerned with the Giants. I think the Giants aren't going to blow up, but after that nice little run with Dart and Skateaboo, I think things are kind of going to go the other direction for Dable and the Giants. I think he's still going to get fired in the end, but I like the Niners minus 2.5. The Colts, as we talked about earlier, that is an incredible 7-1 team. All they're doing is smashing fools. They go to Pittsburgh off that tough loss for the Steelers on Sunday Night Football after dominating the first half, getting just run down in a rough shot in the second half to Green Bay. The Colts right now, 3-point favorites on the road. Pittsburgh's still a decent team. I don't want to make it seem like I don't think that Pittsburgh with Rodgers and And, a lot of the offensive weapons they have can't do things well. And Mike Tomlin, one of the best coaches in NFL history, I think the Colts go in there, though, and keep the losing streak going for Pittsburgh. It's 3 right now. Buy it down to 2.5 through that key number. I think that, the Steelers showed a lot of their weakness in the second half to that Green Bay team. Once again, not a bad Pittsburgh team, but not as good as people thought they were. Some thought they were, that weren't looking into who they played and how they won certain games. Rodgers also, at his advanced age, can struggle against good defenses. The Colts have one. They're going to get after him at the Colts minus 3 and buy it down to 2.5. And the play of the week, I would take this game the second. I know that you could still lose if you lay 1.5. So I guess just buy it down to 1 or take the money line, whatever. It doesn't matter. The Buffalo Bills are going to get revenge against Kansas City. It's a 4:30 game on Sunday. It's in Buffalo. The Bills are getting 1.5 right now. I guess my point is that if it moves to like Buffalo minus 1.5, which it might, and maybe it stays where it's at, and the Chiefs stay favored. We'll see what they do on Sunday Night Football. I just take the money line because I guess you could, if it goes to, I could see this line going to Bills minus 1.5 if the Chiefs don't play great tonight and that kind of thing. Otherwise, I just bet it right now. Take the Bills plus the 108 on the money line. If you want to get the 1.5 and pay the juice, fine. I mean, what are the chances they lose this game by 2? I guess there are some because they're pretty close. The Bills are the best team in the NFL. I wish this game was prime time, but it's still going to be tough for the Chiefs to go into Buffalo. Buffalo gets their revenge. Get that down. That's my play. One of my favorite plays this entire season. Okay, before we get out of here, I got a Squatch same game Monday Night Football parlay for you. And then I got a couple plays that I made on Bull Rush. First for the game. It's a garbage game to me because without Jaden Daniels, and I respect Mariota, and he'll do a fine job, they're not going to beat Kansas City. If Jaden Daniels was playing, they could have beaten Kansas City. Because the Chiefs have had their struggles at times. But I think in the end, it's a high-scoring game, so I like a lot of over on props that I'll give you in a minute here. Commanders go down 38-20 to Kansas City on Monday Night Football. Let's take a look at a couple of my plays. First, I like this a lot. Mahomes rushing yards over 20.5. Mariota rush attempts over 5.5. I think Mariota's be running for his life. And if you didn't know, as long as you get a positive yarder back to the line of scrimmage, that's a rush. As long as you don't get sacked. And then Brashard Smith, I think he's going to have maybe 3 or 4 receptions tonight, the running back for the Chiefs with the Pacheco issue. So those 3, it was almost 4-1, laid 2,500 to win about 12,000. And I got one more on Bull Rush before we get to my other one. And this one, I think Butker is going to kick 3 field goals because the Chiefs are going to score a lot. But they're not going to score touchdowns every time. And I think the weather not being a factor tonight, Butker gets a couple, so that's one thing I threw in here. I don't really use field goal props, but I just really like Butker's number at 1.5. You got to lay a little juice. Xavier Worthy receptions over 3.5. He might have 5 or 6 or 70 with Rashee Rice back. He's been great, and he's got a great rhythm with Mahomes that Rashee Rice will have to continue to build as he's back from the suspension. And then Zach Ertz, who's just the everything guy for whatever quarterback is going in for Washington, whether it's Mariota or Jaden Daniels, over 30.5 receiving yards. That's another 4.5, almost to 1, 2,500 to win 13 grand. So I love that as well. And then I got one more for you that I sizzled Mahomes, who's been running a lot, man. 15 or more rushing yards. Deebo Samuel, I think, has a nice game. Even with Mariota, they're not Daniels, 30 or more receiving yards. Mariota's going to be running a lot too, scrambling for his life, 20 or more rushing yards. Rashard Smith, the 2 receptions again. Rashee Rice, over 50 yards. I think he's going to have a couple long plays, and he might only have 3 receptions, but they might be for 80 yards. Like, that's the kind of guy Rashee Rice is. Worthy's more of a more reception, smaller yardage guy on the receptions. I think Rashee Rice would have 1 for 50 yards himself. And then McLaurin, 25 or over. You throw those 6 things together, almost 6.5 to 1. So there's your Squatch same game parlay for Monday Night Football. All right, it's going to do it for us today. Don't forget, go to bullrush.com right now. Use that promo code EDGE for a $5 sign-up bonus. You got to love that. We will be here, as always, every Sunday, or excuse me, every Monday, Thursday, Friday, Wednesday, every Monday night leading into Monday Night Football. There is a surprise. In 2 weeks, I will be in New York, so we'll be doing a live on-site show in New York. In 3 weeks, I will be in Las Vegas, and we are discussing doing a poolside live broadcast in Las Vegas. So get ready for all that. Please continue to send all your comments in. Reach out to me with any questions about anything we talk about on this show or any wagering questions. I'm always happy to answer those on my social medias at Dan Leach DTM. Big thanks to my man, Davin the greatest producer in all the land. My man, Trent Air, the CEO of Bull Rush, my man, Neil, all the great folks that help put all this stuff together. Most importantly, thanks to each and every one of you. Until next time, keep reaching for the stars. Believe in the dream. Dan Leach Squatch saying, so long. You're watching the Money Night Edge, powered by Bull Rush. See you next time, everybody. Believe in the dream. Out of here.